Mary Julie Jahenny, known as the Mystic of La Fraudais, left a chilling legacy through her visions, foretelling a world overwhelmed by disasters and moral collapse. For over a century, her prophecies warned of a future where humanity would be forced to confront the consequences of its own actions. Today, as earthquakes rattle cities, floods devastate communities, violence surges, and society feels like it's unraveling at the seams, many ask, are these the very catastrophes Mary Julie foresaw? Her predictions now seem less like distant omens and more like a sobering reality unfolding before our eyes. Mary Julie Jahenny's life was defined by sacrifice, chosen to deliver dire warnings for a world near collapse. Born in Blaine, France in 1850, her profound spirituality marked her early life, leading her to a path few dared to tread. By her 20s, Mary Julie began experiencing the stigmata, the physical marks of Christ's wounds on her body. These sacred marks appeared with a strange, unhealing persistence, and over time mirrored the agonies of Christ's passion: thorns, scourges, and a cross etched into her skin. The pain, willingly endured, was an act of penance for humanity's sins. Her suffering went beyond physical agony. She also faced haunting visions and demonic attacks, enduring all with the conviction that her pain served a greater purpose. Her life became a shocking call to those struggling with today's moral and spiritual crisis to awaken and return to God. Who was this woman, and how did she come to deliver such dire warnings to the world? Mary Julie Jahenny foresaw a time of unprecedented civil unrest and anarchy, where nations would turn against themselves and citizens would rise up in violent revolt, not only against governments, but against each other. She envisioned cities engulfed in flames, governments powerless, and families barricading themselves at home as chaos consumed society. This breakdown, she warned, would stem from deep moral decay, greed, selfishness, and a departure from faith. Her prophecies urged the faithful to resist the division and hold fast to prayer and repentance, a last plea for society to restore its spiritual bonds before reaching the point of no return. But physical and spiritual suffering weren't the only warning she delivered. Mary Julie's prophecies also foretold a world teetering on the brink of civil unrest and anarchy. Mary Julie Jahenny warned that the consequences of humanity's moral decline would manifest not only through social upheaval, but through severe, unrelenting natural disasters. Her visions included a world racked by divine punishments, sent as both a call to repentance and a harsh correction. She foresaw catastrophic earthquakes leveling entire cities, violent storms ravaging the land, and floods sweeping away everything in their path. The earth itself, she prophesied, would groan under the weight of humanity's sins, and these events would be both relentless and widespread. Mary Julie describes scenes of devastation that would strike fear into even the most steadfast of hearts. Cities split by massive quakes, deadly lightning lighting up the skies, and thunder that would shake the ground beneath people's feet. She spoke of blood rains and crops withering in fields, leaving nations on the brink of famine. The destruction would not end with the natural world. According to her visions, plagues would emerge, diseases spreading rapidly and affecting millions, worsening the suffering of a humanity that had turned from God. Each of these calamities, Mary Julie believed, was a warning, a manifestation of divine displeasure intended to shock humanity back to humility. Her prophecy was clear. Only by returning to prayer, sacrifice, and an unwavering faith could society hope to avoid complete devastation. She emphasized that even in the face of such trials, the faithful would find divine protection if they turned their hearts fully toward God. Her message resonated as a call to spiritual vigilance, urging all who would listen to align their lives with divine law before it was too late. Yet, physical destruction was not the only danger she predicted. Even more terrifying was the moral and spiritual decay she foresaw spreading across the world. Mary Julie Jahenny's prophecies didn't stop at natural disasters and divine punishments. She spoke vividly of a coming great civil war that would pit citizens against each other in a relentless struggle transforming once peaceful streets into battlegrounds. This wasn't just a war between nations, it was a vision of neighbors turning on neighbors, entire societies tearing themselves apart from within. Jahenny foresaw an era when distrust and betrayal would permeate communities, fueling a cycle of violence and chaos that traditional structures of authority couldn't contain. Her visions detailed scenes of widespread rebellion and anarchy, where law and order would collapse and government control would vanish. The streets would be filled with unrest, riots and despair, forcing families to seek refuge within their homes as once familiar surroundings turned dangerous. She described businesses being looted, homes under siege, and the fabric of society unraveling, all driven by the rise of poverty, social injustice, and a collective loss of faith. Mary Julie's prophecy paints this period of civil war and anarchy as both a punishment for humanity's moral failings and a final wake-up call. In her visions, the only means of survival in such times would be to return to compassion, solidarity, and a reawakening of faith. For those determined to resist the pull of chaos, Mary Julie held out hope, a pledge that, despite the trials, those anchored in divine principles would embody unbreakable resilience, ultimately lighting the way for others to rediscover peace and unity. Her hope for the faithful was strengthened by a divine promise of renewal. Mary Julie predicted that, after the trial of chaos, two holy leaders would emerge to restore faith and unity. Mary Julie's prophecies foretold the arrival of two extraordinary figures destined to lead the world out of turmoil: a great monarch and a holy pope. These two leaders, divinely appointed, would bring about a long-awaited era of peace and restoration. The great monarch, a humble yet powerful ruler, would emerge from obscurity to rally the nations, restoring justice and faith across Europe and beyond. Unlike any leader before, he would govern with a spirit of compassion, drawing strength from his profound devotion to God and winning the trust of the people through acts of mercy and wisdom. At his side, the Holy Pope would guide the Catholic Church through a time of revival, restoring its sacred traditions and guiding the faithful back to authentic Christian teachings. Together, they would work as instruments of divine will, healing a fractured world and setting an example of faith and leadership that would inspire all. The Holy Pope, renowned for his holiness, would stand as a beacon of moral authority in a time of great confusion, shepherding the Church and its followers back to their spiritual roots. Mary Julie described their reign as a miraculous period of unity and harmony, where the broken fabric of society would be mended and the true faith would flourish. This vision of the great monarch and holy pope offered a hope for a future grounded in divine order, a time when justice, virtue, and faith would once again reign supreme. As we witness today's world unravel in ways eerily aligned with Mary Julie Jahenny's chilling visions, it's hard to ignore the feelings that her prophecies are beginning to echo louder than ever. Her warnings about natural disasters, moral disintegration, and social upheaval feel like they're leaping off the pages of history straight into our lives, shaking us to the core. Each event, each crisis unfolding before us adds weight to her words, making them feel less like distant prophecy and more like an urgent unfolding reality. But amidst these dark predictions lies a glimmer of divine hope. Mary Julie foretold the rise of a great monarch and a holy pope, figures destined to restore peace, unify faith, and lead humanity back to God. This prophecy offers more than a warning. It's a call to action, a chance to prepare our souls for what lies ahead. The signs are no longer hidden. They are out in the open, begging us to take notice and to brace ourselves for a spiritual battle. The prophecy has begun, and time is running out. Are we prepared to face what's coming?